Good, glorious afternoon. I am Chair Will Hornaday. I'd like to welcome you to the February 11th Historic Resources Commission meeting. If you haven't already, while I'm rambling through this, sign in the sign-in list up there by the door. Take your time, just do it before you leave. The HRC is a quasi-judicial body that is governed by the North Carolina General Statutes and the City of Asheville's Unified Development Ordinance and Buncombe County Ordinance. We're authorized to hear requests for certificate of appropriateness for alterations, demolitions, new construction, and other work within historic districts for the alteration and demolition of historic landmarks and other duties, including preliminary review of subdivisions as specified in the ordinances for the HRC. I'll now ask commissioners and staff to introduce themselves. Leslie, you want to kick it off?
Leslie Humphrey, Montford neighborhood.
Cecil Holt, Montford.
Jenny Bowen, downtown and Buncombe County Special Collections.
Rob Mays, Montford.
Shannon Watkins, real estate agent.
Will Hornaday from Albemarle Park.
Amy Moxley, architect.
Janice Ashley, legal advisor to the HRC.
I'm Alex Cole, I'm the staff liaison to the HRC.
Haley Mahoney, interim staff assistant to the HRC.
Thank you all for being here. We're now going to consider the minutes from last month's meetings. The minutes include finding of fact and conclusion of law. Are there any corrections?
Yeah, I was just going to note that.
We have one correct adjustment from Commissioner Mays.
Yeah, I asked for a correction.
Flowed in.
Kind of late in the meeting, and I see it's been adjusted.
Okay, good.
It's acceptable. It's not exactly what I asked for.
Oh, we got a lawyer involved. All right. Is there a motion for the? Someone want to make a motion to approve the minutes?
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Opposed? Okay, that carries. That takes care of the minutes. Public hearings. We're now going to begin the evidentiary hearings for the items listed on the agenda. As a quasi-judicial proceeding, the HRC is not setting policy, nor are we soliciting public opinion or the desirability of an application. The HRC hears and considers evidence presented and applies the standards set forth in the standards for the specific historic district or landmark for that application. The HRC must make its decision upon competent, material, and substantial evidence to determine the facts of the hearing. The HRC will use judgment and discretion to apply the standards contained in the relevant standards to the facts. The commissioners in voting for an item will not have a fixed opinion, not susceptible to change, have a conflict of interest, or have engaged in ex parte communication regarding the application. We've got some rules for speaking for the speakers. This meeting's open to the public. Participation is limited to interested parties who wish to provide comment testimony regarding the proposal. If you'll be speaking as a witness, please focus on the facts and how they relate to the relevant historic district standard, not personal preference or opinion. Witnesses must swear or affirm their testimony at this time. I'll administer the oath for all individuals who intend to provide witness testimony. So if you're going to talk tonight, if you're on the agenda, let's stand up and swear you in. So you're going to raise your right hand, and we're going to say, do you solemnly swear or affirm that the information you present during the hearing for a certificate of appropriateness or preliminary subdivision approval before the Historic Resources Commission shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? All right, thanks a bunch. Y'all sit down. So first, we're going to continue 53 Birch Street, and so if someone would like to make a motion to continue 53 Birch Street.
Move to continue 53 Birch Street.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Mays. All in favor?
March, right? To the
Oh.
March date certain?
Yeah, we're going to continue it to the March 2026 date.
Okay.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay. Okay, so that carries. Now we have 345 Montford Avenue to continue to the March 2026 HRC. Is there a motion for that?
I move to continue 345 Montford Ave to the March hearing date.
Okay, is there a second?
Second?
Second, Mays. And all in favor of continuing to the March meeting, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that takes care, I'm turning it over to staff.
Thank you, Chair Hornaday, members of the commission. We've got a pretty full agenda today, so I'm going to go through these as quickly as I can. So the first application is for 5 All Souls Crescent in Biltmore Village. This is an original Richard Sharp Smith cottage in the district. The original windows were long ago replaced on this building, so you'll see that there are mostly these double-hung vinyl windows, and I think there's a handful of non-original 1/1 windows as well. This, of course, is damage as a result of Helene, so the windows do need to be replaced. And so I did unearth some of our Richard Sharp Smith drawings. I couldn't find this exact cottage, but this is 10 All Souls, which is very similar. So I was just kind of looking at what might be the most appropriate. If you look at Sharp's drawings, they feature a variety of window styles. There's 12/1s, 8/1s, which are really interesting, but less common, I guess, in Biltmore Village at least. 9/1s were super common. So I pulled this just drawing to show you as an example, since we don't know exactly what style of window might have been on this building, but we can probably assume that they were pretty similar. There are not, the existing vinyl windows on the front are 9/1s, and I think there's some 6/1s on the first floor maybe. And then these are just some photos of a couple of other cottages. 11 All Souls is on the bottom, kind of dark to see that. I had to pull that from like 2013 in order for there to not be a tree in the way. But it does show the 9/1 windows. And then across the street at Corner Kitchen, there's 8/1, kind of mix of 12/1, 8/1s on that building, and then the cottage on the left, top left, has 12/1s. So just to give an example of the smattering of window styles down there. So the application is to replace all the damaged windows with new wood windows. We haven't really had this come up in Biltmore Village as far as, we review a lot of window applications in Montford and have stipulated replacement windows on front elevations or elevations visible from the street to be true divided light. The application includes simulated divided light, so just something for you all to talk through today. There won't be any original windows to kind of have a mix, I guess, if you will, for them to look odd against each other, but it's just a matter of the commission, taking a position on whether you think, just generally speaking, there should be true divided light windows visible from the street or not, or if you're okay with simulated divided light, like what's proposed. So I'm not noting any concerns, just that question's a little bit open-ended and need to hear feedback from the commission on that.
Questions for staff?
I have one. This proposal is 6/1. Did you say any of these were 6/1, these examples? Were there 8, 9, and 12?
I think some of the existing vinyl windows are 6/1, but no, I think my recommendation would be that they go with 9/1 windows to be more, or 12/1 windows to be more consistent with the existing windows in the district.
I couldn't tell from that picture, but Commissioner Humphreys, was the 12/1 and 9/1 on different floors, or was it just different buildings?
Just different buildings. There may be some, I didn't look at every single cottage, so there may be some that have 12/1 and 9/1. There's just so many. I mean, I literally opened just one. We have all of our Richard Sharp Smith drawings are on CDs, and I opened the first one, and there's about 150 drawings in there of houses all across Asheville. And so there's quite a variety and mix of windows on the building, but I mean, it might be just ease for the applicant to do 9/1s, since that's,
Can you remember if the post office that came through a couple of months ago, if that was true divided lights or not on the replacement windows that they used? Nick on Brooks. Is it Brooks?
did they have window replacement as part of their application? I do not remember.
Oh.
They tinted it, right?
Hmm?
Is that the ones who were tinting their window?
No. This is the, right next to Wayside.
Chemist?
Yeah.
I mean, the most recent application we reviewed for them was for signage.
Okay, I just looked and saw new windows there and thought that it was part of that, so I didn't know. But they
If
could
we
be
did, it
temporary.
might have been an older one. They did have a major work application pre-Helene, because they were actually under construction for people before, like when Helene happened, they were in the process of renovating that building, but
That was a while ago. Yeah, I thought that was part of
wish-
the recent one,
I
but no.
wish my memory were that great.
And are they aluminum clad or what, or
Would, what's proposed, you
the
mean?
agenda says aluminum clad, that's what I was.
Updated.
I think it might have been that way when we first roughed out the agenda, but my staff report should be correct.
More questions for staff? Alrighty, thanks a bunch.
thank you.
We're now gonna hear from the applicant, to come up. Josh Scala?
Yeah.
Hey,
Hi.
Josh, you're welcome to use my slides, but I've got all your other, if you like have your documents are pulled up here, if you wanted to pull up any other photos or anything.
Yeah,
It's
I
all
mean-
there. So just let me know if you need my help. Right.
Sure. I'd like to pull up the building itself. So yeah, this guy. All the windows have vinyl replacements that were put in them at some point. And for this, we're just looking to do the outside replacement windows. There's, I think, some aluminum wrapped on the trim outside that we would remove and scrape and repaint the windows, but that would be part of a minor variance, I guess.
And what are you proposing as the number of lights on the windows, or the number of divided panels up there? 9/1?
I think that's what I submitted with the wood window quote, but I would have to look and see.
And they're all the same?
I think they're all the same.
If I was reading these specs right, there's 19 that are one style, which are, the drawing looks like 9/1, and then there are 2 that are 6/1. And maybe that's because those 2 are only 35 inches tall, so they're short windows. And there's not as much, I'm just looking at the window specs that were,
As Exhibit C.
Yep.
So most of them are 9/1 and a couple that are
Two smaller windows that are
2
6/1.
smaller windows that are coming in.
were there 19 windows on the bottom
I guess so.
level? That's-
There's a lot of windows on that building.
Well, it's on the upstairs too.
Yeah, there's an upstairs also,
You're replacing all of them?
all the windows.
Okay, got it.
And the,
What was the water height on this building?
I mean, it was there at the front where the front porch roof touches is pretty much where the
Wow.
water was up to.
thanks for bringing that up, Alex.
Well, I mean,
No, it's
someone
helpful.
said they were surprised that we were still doing Helene recovery work today, so I just am making sure everybody
Tell 'em to
knows
shut
that
up
this
if
this
anybody
gentleman
asks
is not here because of a fun, just because they want to replace the windows, obviously.
They'd rather not replace the windows.
Yeah.
Do you have any more, let's see, are there any other comments or questions for the applicant?
Would you be open to speccing true divided lights?
Sure.
Okay.
And then if having multiple or different style windows is an issue, if 6/over is all they could do, on the smaller ones, if you wanted 6 over on all of them, I don't think anyone, I mean,
I think it has to do more with whether those are horizontal, if they get horizontal with 9/1 instead of square, each of the divided is sort of something that I see that I worry about on it. But I think your software or what your seller and staff can manage.
Where are the two smaller windows? Here, let's pull up your
Yeah.
photos.
If you could just step a little closer or speak a little more directly into the mic, we're having a little bit of issues with the online stream being able to be heard from the podium. Thank you.
It looks like there are these two smaller windows on the back of the building. I mean,
upstairs.
I honestly, I think because the number of lights horizontally will, 3 and 3, if you're doing 9/1 and 6/1, I think it's
Busy.
fine because they're not gonna be visible from anywhere and they're small.
We couldn't put 9 in an upper
Yeah.
sash that small, I don't think.
So I think it's okay.
All right. Any more questions for the applicant? If not, we got one question.
I think I read through the whole description, but on the front, you had that Dutch door or Dutch-looking door. Are you keeping that door? What's?
I understood that was a minor variance.
There's some stuff that's just minor repair stuff that they want to submit under a separate minor work application. So most of it's just repair as is.
We're gonna refinish that door, keep it,
That's good.
yeah.
Thanks.
Anything else for the applicant? All right, I'm gonna have you sit down for a while, and we're gonna open the floor to public comment. I'm opening the floor for public comment. If anybody's here wants to speak about 5 All Souls Crescent, now's your chance. Closing the floor, seeing none. Commissioners, any thoughts on 9 or 5 All Souls Crescent? Then is someone ready to make a motion? From the big book. There was a question as to whether we're requiring true lights or just asking for exploration. Is that correct?
Is there anything in the guidelines that, do they have, I know the Montford guidelines speak to this, or I think they do. Is there?
The standards for Biltmore Village say that when there's a missing feature, that it should be matched or be similar to the original. So
Duplicate.
they're a little bit more vague. I would say that because this building is missing all its original windows, that it might be okay for simulated divided light. It's more of a challenge when you're, like the one case I'm thinking of that we looked at recently on Cumberland Circle had existing true divided light windows, so it would look pretty weird if you put simulated divided light windows, on an elevation where you've got true divided light historic windows, because they do look very different. So just my 2 cents. But the way that the standard's written, it kind of leaves some latitude for you to make that. I mean, we know for sure that the original windows in this building were true divided light because they built them all that way. So it's not as if we don't know what the original construction style was, but.
So your staff opinion is that it should be divided lights? Is that what you're saying?
I just gave my very neutral 2 cents.
I heard
Saying
you.
that
I'm
I could
trying to
go
paint
either
you in a
way.
corner.
I feel like I don't want to try to sway the conversation one way or another. I do feel like, like I said, we do know what the original windows were, but.
We looked at we had a commercial application, I don't know if it was last month or the month before, for the Joseph Bank store. And there they had a wooden door that they were replacing with aluminum framing. They had I think a wooden no, I shouldn't say that, but I think there were some aluminum windows in that. And I don't remember it coming up. Are there different standards for like that kind of storefront as opposed to this kind of building?
I mean, yes and no, like the standards don't like break those building styles out. I mean, they do actually, if you look at the way the standards are written, they talk about the early commercial type buildings, the cottage type buildings, and the auto-oriented buildings. I would say that building that you all looked at in December, that building was built in, I think, like 1964 or 65, so it's definitely not apples to apples.
Fair enough.
So,
So, are you proposing that they are divided lights for your, for your motion?
I would vote for true divided lights.
Yeah,
I really would. I mean, it's more historically accurate.
right,
So-
I was wondering if the applicant could tell us if it would set the project back. I mean, I know it takes a while to get windows in once you order them, if you do the true divided light.
Is it simulated divided light?
Josh, could you come up to the mic?
Thank
I
you.
don't have the window specs in front of me.
They were simulated
They're
divided light.
simulated? I mean, nothing has been ordered, so I can't really answer to that as much as probably the budget being an issue, but historic's not terribly concerned about that.
Okay. I think that's our stance, is that we prefer that you look into that, maybe give us the information at the next hearing about the cost of the,
But you all can't consider cost as part of
well,
your.
I mean, I'm sorry, I mean, about the way that the specs for those true divided light windows.
That's something that we could review at staff level for sure.
Oh,
Because the
good.
windows would be the same, it would just be that they would be.
So we would make a motion for true divided lights,
Yes.
and then they would work with staff on some sizing and arrangement.
The configuration. yeah.
Configuration, not arrangement. Thank you,
But I-
architects.
But I think the applicant has to be amenable to
Mhm.
revising their application to be okay with.
Are you amenable to revising your application to include true divided glass?
Sure.
Okay. Well, then I think that makes it easy. You can sit back down now, I think. And are there any other questions for the applicant? No.
I wish I had some language in the guidelines that we were tying this to, but a little more directly. Maybe I'm missing it.
The question about the standards, about what?
Well, just I mean, in practice, what this is gonna mean is these windows are gonna be more expensive.
They're gonna
We
be
can't
what?
consider,
Well,
that's outside of our purview.
well, I know there's that. I've never understood that particular.
It's just a fact, but we'll move on.
But the applicants come in with a particular spec, and we're saying basically, we're not gonna approve that, but we'll approve it if you'll agree it's true divided light. We don't know what that is. I would feel better about doing that if we had some guideline, and maybe there is in here, and I just haven't seen the language, but some language that says, and maybe it's like an overarching, some kind of, overarching language, but it seems like if we're basically rejecting what somebody's proposing and asking them to do something else, we should be able to tie it to some words in the guidelines.
Well, I
It
would
starts-
just say, sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, it starts on page 18 of the guidelines with the cottage buildings in the
Right.
Biltmore Village Standards Book 2, about windows, and then specifically, it's pretty short, but it does say, maintain the historic window proportions.
Right. I read that, and I read it was saying maintain the proportions, maintain the openings, and,
Accurate duplications of original features.
okay, point me.
Where's
to
that, Will?
It's on
Page 10?
page 7,
Okay.
number 9, and page 8, number 10.
I think, I mean, it would take me a while to unearth this as well, but in the Secretary of the Interior Standards, which all the local historic district standards are based on,
gets really in the weeds about everything, but windows in particular. It talks about, that replacement units should match the original and existing in terms of material, number of sashes, configuration, size, et cetera. And so I think at the very least you could fall back on that premise that this is what the standard is based on. And it would be, I think, somewhat different if we were talking about a building that we didn't really know anything about what the original windows were. But being that this is a Richard Sharp Smith cottage, and that is pretty much what the core of this district is based on, that I think it does make it more critical in this case, I guess, if I'm leaning.
Yeah, I'm looking at this language on page 7 that says, just talks about generally replacing original features. It says, in the event replacement is necessary, then new material should match that being replaced in design, color, texture, and other visual qualities.
And since they're missing, their vinyl now, it's saying missing architectural elements should be based on accurate duplications of original features. And we have the Richard Sharp Smith drawings and the
Yeah.
examples that Alex provided with all the buildings super close by.
Okay.
So we all feel like it would be the 9/1 or the 8/1 or the 12/1.
Yeah, for sure that. I'm just talking about whether it's simulated or true, but.
We know that they were not simulated back then.
We want to.
Yeah, no, I'm on board.
We want to, we want to convey the visual appearance of the original. So if Alex even said, if you put, true divided light with a simulated next to each other on a building, it wouldn't look right because they're not the same. So all the other buildings in Biltmore Village are true divided light, I'd say.
Yeah.
Okay,
It
fair
looks,
enough.
it looks different.
So is there a motion to, since the applicant was amenable to, agreeable, to have true divided glass lights that would be overseen by staff on the number of 8/1, 12/1, 9/1? Is there a motion for that, or is that where we are?
That's where we are.
That's where we are? That's where we are. Someone's got to say it. Someone's got to talk.
Move to,
No.
oh, sorry, I have to read. Okay, and I need to get to that folder. Motions. I don't think I've ever done this before.
I know, it's fun. Once you get
Where is it, Will?
right here.
You're gonna love it.
Okay. Start with chairman.
Wait, is that the right one?
Yeah.
5.
It is.
Yeah.
Chairman, based upon the evidence presented to this commission, including Exhibit A, application, owner's affidavit, and project description, 4 pages, Exhibit B, photos, 5 pages, Exhibit C, window specifications, 3 pages, received January 29th, 2026, Exhibit D, Richard Sharp Smith drawing of 10 All Souls Crescent added by staff February 10th, 2026, and the commission's actual inspection and review of the subject property by all members, except I move that this commission approve the certificate of appropriateness based on the following. The application is for replacement of existing double-hung vinyl windows with new wood double-hung TDL windows, all work to be completed in accordance with approved and attached drawings and plans. All permits, variances, or approvals as required by law must be obtained before work may commence. Do I add about
She'll stay tight while we're
Okay.
talking.
that the standards for general rehabilitation guidelines found on pages 5 through 10 and rehabilitation of cottage-type structures on pages 17 through 20 of Chapter 2, Book 2 of the Biltmore Village Historic District Design Standards, adopted October 1st, 1988, were used to evaluate this request. 3, this application does meet the design standards for the following reasons. A, existing windows were damaged by flooding from Helene and are not original to the structure or historic. B, new windows will be wood, TDL, and similar to the original. 4, that the action and improvements proposed in the application before us for a certificate of appropriateness are congruous with the special historic character of the Biltmore Village Historic District.
Is there a second?
A second.
Second from Commissioner Humphrey.
Mister.
Commissioner.
Based upon the foregoing findings and for the reasons set forth therein, I move that a certificate of appropriateness be issued with the following conditions. 1, revised TDL window specifications will be submitted for staff review and approval.
Is there a second?
A second.
Second, Mays. And all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Thank you very much, and Alex will reach out to you, probably.
I'll follow up with you.
So I'll be prepared to read the next one too, I guess. Okay.
Moving on to 52 Cumberland Circle, this application, although it's noted as under new business, we just made a boo-boo. Didn't actually continue it last month, so sorry about that. Just a glitch on our end, but this application did come before you in November. You might recall if you were here with us for that meeting. This is a 1.5-story structure on Cumberland Circle. The applicant has a porch on the rear elevation that's currently screened, and she would like to enclose it. The last time around, we were looking at aluminum framed windows, and this time around, we're looking at wood windows. So I'm not noting any concerns, except for I did note in the project description that they had identified that any new trim would be fiber cement, and I did note that as a concern that it should be, the trim and siding material should be wood to match the existing trim on the house. And the other thing I asked for clarification on is the proposed color for the windows. And I think that's really all we need from the applicant at this point, but otherwise supporting the application. Happy to help answer questions if you'll have any.
Any questions for staff? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now we'll call the applicant up to talk about 52 Cumberland Circle.
Just for ease of getting through my presentation, I just put the photos in there in my slide deck, but all your documents are here with the plans you submitted, Mike, are down here at the bottom. So if you need to pull anything up.
Awesome. So we're at the bottom of, how do I get back to the files, just so I can show the new windows? Yeah, there.
I'm Jane Haverty, I'm the owner of the house, and this is Mike, and he is my savior.
Hello, Mike, the savior.
Just a contractor, let's say.
I had previously submitted,
Mike, what's your last name besides Savior, in case someone asks us?
Just go by Savior. Yeah,
Okay.
Romero, R-O-M-E-R-O.
Thank you very much. Tell us a little bit about your project.
So, it's on the notes, it's a, sort of simple enclosure. I think when they had looked at it, when y'all had looked at it the last time, I think the company that was setting the windows obviously had not gone through the design review notes. And so the biggest modification really was the wood windows, which we added. I do have noted on there that we're doing the Meritech or the fiber cement siding on the exterior, which can be original wood. In reality, just our contractors, because we're just so used to using fiber cement siding these days, that's sort of an easy fix. But just as a note, when you look at the window layout, on the exterior, you're really not going to have, there's really not a whole lot of framing in there. And so it's really an easy change and not something that's going to be cost prohibitive. So if that's something that's important to the board, that's something that we can change easily.
just to remind y'all, this is the old screen porch was added to my house, it's not historic at all, just a screened porch, and I'm trying to close it so I can use it year-round as an RCO. So it's not just plain old wood screened porch with screens, it's nothing historic about it, so
Yeah, and one of the things that you know, sort of I noticed with with where the screens were, was that we could have gone with a standard size window, maybe saved a few bucks, but the reality is those screens are, you know, they're really big screens when you look at the pictures. So the windows are all custom made so they fit in those, you know, in the same setting, so that you don't lose sort of the character of having the big windows. From the exterior, it looks nice, from the interior, she gets more light, so that's, you know, that's something that we thought we would do to sort of keep it, you know, you can see here you can see how large those screens are. So the idea is, you know, we're still gonna frame, but, you know, you're still gonna have a sizable window, really not changing the exterior when you look at it, the biggest difference being that obviously there'll be a window there instead of a screen. So the actual look and feel of from the back of the house for the screen and porch won't change.
Any questions for the applicant?
I just wondered what's, under the windows, you have, say, what, the equivalent of a porch
Where what?
balustrade, the railing, and then underneath there, are you changing anything below the band?
No, we're gonna put a vapor barrier and insulate, and then seal the insulation. Yeah, its crawl space stays the same.
Yeah, no, I just wondered if you were
Yeah.
leaving that paneling.
And so you are using wood and not the cement board?
Yeah, like I said, that's probably my fault. I didn't
Okay,
read through that.
it's
and
just a
didn't- So
typo.
that's something, yeah, that's
All right.
something it's an easy exchange, just because you're not gonna end up with that much. So, you know, from a cost standpoint, it's all the same.
Any other issues at staff level?
No, I just wanted to clarify if you had picked a color for the windows.
We have that.
So you'll pick a color and talk to staff about that.
It'll just go with I just had the house repainted, so we're gonna paint everything the same color.
What color did you paint your house? What color did you paint your house?
It's, yeah, that's a
Okay.
current photo,
Want to keep it up to date?
yeah.
And so the green doors is like a net kind of thing.
You're taking that railing off.
No,
No, that's there.
yeah,
Okay.
I'm not sure whoever put this there. Yeah, I don't know why.
We're not gonna, I'm opening up.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. Any other questions for that?
Gate there, it's like that.
Oh, nice little,
You can't see it, so I think they must have had a doll or something.
okay. Any other questions for the applicant? All right. Thank y'all very much. I'm going to open the floor to public comment. Anybody here want to talk about 52 Cumberland Circle? Seeing none, I'm closing the floor for public comment. Commissioners, any further comment on 52 Cumberland Circle? Or is someone prepared to make a motion?
I'll make a motion. Mr. Chairman, based on the evidence presented to the commission, including Exhibit A, the application, 2 pages, Exhibit B, the project description, Exhibit C, the additional project description, Exhibit D, the manufacturer specifications, 18 pages, Exhibit E, the project quote, 2 pages, Exhibit F, the photographs, 4 pages, Exhibit G, additional photograph, Exhibit H, the Sanborn maps, 2 pages, added by staff November 3rd, 2025. Exhibit I, the revised project description, photos and specifications, 18 pages, received by staff January 27th, 2026, and the commission's actual inspection and review of the subject property by all members. I move that the commission approve the certificate of appropriateness based on the following. 1, that the application is for replacement of existing deck screening and door on rear elevation with new wood, single light windows and single light wood door. Windows and doors will be trimmed with painted wood matching existing materials. All work will be completed in accordance with approved and attached drawings and plans. All permits, variances, or approvals as required by law must be obtained before work may commence. That the standards for windows and doors found on pages 84 and 85 and porches, entrances, and balconies on pages 72 and 73 of the Montfort Historic District Design Review Standards adopted April 14th, 2010, and amended December 11th, 2019, were used to evaluate this request. The application does meet the design standards for the following reasons. The new windows and door will be wood. The material, details, and color of the porch enclosure are compatible with the existing structure. that the action improvements proposed in the application before us for a certificate of appropriateness are congruous with the special historic character of the Montford Historic District.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
Mr. Chairman, based on the foregoing findings and the reasons set forth therein, I move that a certificate of appropriateness be issued. Does there need to be a condition? Well, that a certificate of appropriate be issued, period.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, that passes. Thank you all for coming in.
Thank you.
It's okay, thank you. I'll be in touch. It's okay, it just says, it said in the. I was like drinking water. Okey doke. Next application is 101 Santee Street. This is for a new driveway and parking area. This house
Does it
was.
matter if it's different than the agenda?
Am I going out of order? All my staff reports and my staff.
265 Cumberland.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe it's my brain, because I put my slide deck in the wrong order.
We'll just say it was an accident.
All right. 265 Cumberland Avenue. This application also involves a driveway. This property has been undergoing renovation for, I don't know, the last few years or so. There is an existing driveway, as you can see in the picture on the right, with concrete walls on either side of it that lead up to a porte cochere. The proposal involves relocating the wall on the right-hand side. So on the left-hand side is the existing site plan. On the right-hand side, in the dashed area, you'll see they want to reconfigure the wall to make it come straight off of the porte cochere and kind of have a wider driveway width. And then just some additional photos. The wall, and I'll let the applicant speak to this, but I guess has been hit multiple times and is damaged from probably, being hit, but also probably just from age. I do have some concerns about this application. The standards state that retain and preserve historic walls that contribute to the overall historic character of a building or site. On page 37, and then also retain and preserve the location, configuration, and materials of intact character defining historic driveways that contribute to the overall historic character of the site, streetscape, and district. And my opinion is that widening of the existing driveway will alter the character of the site and the streetscape and district. And so those are my concerns. I feel like it is actually pretty wide for a driveway opening in Montford. I don't know if anybody noticed the house immediately next door, but the driveway is about this wide and somehow connects to, and the walls are very tall. It's basically constructed within an embankment in the front yard that goes into a little garage. I'm not saying that that's necessarily that every driveway should be super narrow or anything, but I do think that this kind of the way that this driveway opens out into the street is characteristic of the site itself and the overall streetscape, and to me, modifying it will definitely change the overall character of the streetscape. So those are my thoughts. Any questions for me?
Questions for staff?
Remember, I don't know the address, but several months ago, we approved widening the driveway by moving the retaining wall for Donald Nicholson's house. He's on the corner of
Yes, I do
SoCo
remember that
and
application.
Cumberland. And they I don't know if that was part of adding the ADU, but I remember, it was because their big trucks couldn't squeeze by without hitting the wall frequently. So it was the same,
Which house was this?
It's also on Cumberland. It's the
right
house.
across from the Greek church.
Yeah,
Up high.
It's the house that's kind of like where SoCo comes in. It backs up to SoCo. It's like a through lot.
Opposite the house with the solar panels, the Tesla.
And it had been moved
have
once,
missed that
sounds familiar, or
I
it
can't
was
remember.
newer?
I can't remember if the exact circumstances around that wall, but we can look into it outside of this meeting and come back to you with that information if it's
It just seemed
helpful.
like it was almost the same request.
We have had this request come up from time to time, and it's obviously site-specific, but again, I don't remember the exact site conditions for that.
I think
for
that one
application.
dog-legged and like turned funny and had a curve that made it, that was a pinch point instead of a straight line too. Yeah. I'm just trying to, I'd forgotten about that one.
You just have to post a lower speed limit.
Any other questions for staff? Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
We'll now call the applicant up to talk about their project. Have you been sworn in? Yes. Okay, good, good.
Hey, Andy. You're welcome to use my slide deck, but then also all of the documents you submitted are just here in one PDF if you want to use that. Either way, if you need my help, just let me know.
All right, appreciate it. Hello? Yeah, so I
Go ahead and
guess.
say your name for the
sorry.
record.
My name's Andy Ayala. I'm the homeowner. I guess one thing I just want to clarify in terms of the reasoning, not just because people are hitting the wall, which they are, but there is an angle, and maybe that's shown on this other diagram. But the reason the wall gets hit so much is because the driveway actually angles this way. So I guess when you're coming down the driveway from the top, you have to kind of go straight, and you have to kind of go this way. And in terms of the narrowness of the driveway, it's about 10. The portico share is obviously a limiting factor, and the portico share is 10 feet, and the driveway is basically 10 feet wide all the way down until you get to the mouth where it widens out on the street. That's another reason, I guess, another factor that causes the driveway, that wall to get hit. Also, the radius on the right-hand wall is quite large, so people, I guess, misjudge it. I've misjudged it. Other people that come to our house misjudge it and end up cutting the corner and hitting the wall. We have been in here before for doing some renovations on the house. So we've been living with it, and that's, I guess, the reason we've come back is because it's been very difficult. In fact, most people prefer not to go up our driveway because of it. So we obviously don't want that to be the case. We propose that instead of trying to change both walls, we thought it would be better to change one wall to avoid altering it, the look of it too much, but part of the angle is part of the reason why it gets hit so much, because it's kind of coming across the grain that way.
You would go back with concrete?
Yeah, the wall would look basically exactly the same height, same material.
And it would be untouched on the other side?
Be untouched. We do, the other one has some wear, which we would just patch, but they would essentially look the same.
But you're just putting concrete, you were proposing just to put concrete in the newly gained ground and leaving the original concrete?
No, meaning, sorry, this picture right here. so the original wall is kind of this light gray line.
You can zoom up on that a little, maybe,
I got it.
or I don't know how.
Can you see this?
It's for TV.
That seems to make it smaller.
Oh yeah, the minus sign makes it bigger.
Super logical. Is that better?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so the existing wall is kind of this kind of
Right.
shape here, and then so we're proposing to get rid of that wall and just essentially go straight from where the porte cochere is to where the wall essentially meets the front parallel facing wall to the street.
And you're only putting new concrete on the ground part in the newly gained part. You're not replacing the driveway.
Oh, I see what you're saying. So, the driveway is getting, so part of the application that we made for putting the detached garage in the back was to redo the driveway. So the driveway is getting, it's concrete now and it's getting redone
It's the order.
as part of the garage project.
Oh, I didn't know that part.
Yeah.
I think, is that
Staff's
from
aware of
previous
that?
application?
Staff,
Sorry.
the driveway's replacing? The
That was in-
material on the surface of the driveway from before? That was approved before?
Yes.
On the other side of the porte cochere, yeah, there was paving material approved.
I'm hearing different.
Sorry, we were talking about the agenda. Can you,
No, no,
what,
Was it for the whole driveway, or was it just,
No.
it was just for that parking pad in front of?
yeah, it
The
was just,
ADU.
yeah, it was just
so
for
the
the,
driveway leaving from Cumberland, coming to the portico share is gonna be the original concrete,
One out of order, sorry.
that concrete.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'd have to go back and look at the application. My thought was that this was gonna get replaced. It's also, you can kind of see here, it's also quite damaged, but. Yeah, it's old. But if that's an issue, we don't have to replace it. But I guess I think your question is.
My question was the new
the
ground.
part- That
was-
part, that little
Yeah,
sliver
that
that was,
little-
it was gonna be replaced with concrete. But if permeability is an issue, we could always like put a strip like some of these other driveways have of.
I think there's an issue
impervious
with
material.
taking that concrete out between the street and the portico share.
that hasn't been discussed. Like, obviously, you're gonna have to if you approve for the wall to be relocated, they're gonna have to pay.
Same from the other application.
Yeah, we didn't approve for any, like, the only thing.
Wholesale.
Yeah, the only thing that was approved for the driveway in the last application was for the paved area that was behind the porte cochere, not the section of driveway coming out to the street.
Okay.
I was thinking there was a little flat place up there right in front of the porte cochere. That's what, it seems like that's what I thought was being replaced before, but maybe not.
It's been a while since we had that application, so
Yeah.
I guess I have to go back and look at it. But there is we did talk about the area behind the portico share being as part of the application. We did talk about the part under the portico share. I think the way we had it drawn was putting some pavers under there. But I'd have to go back. I apologize. I don't remember exactly what was or wasn't in there. So, but if the front part's not in the application, then so be it.
Well, I do not remember every application for sure. I do remember this one. I do remember because there wasn't an improved parking area. It was like just kind of gravel and dirt.
There was a tree
Beyond the porte
coming out,
cochere.
or
Yeah, there was a tree.
And it took a couple of meetings because you all went back and forth between allowing the pavers, and it came down to the paver type and then I think the landscaping around it because it was parking, so, but I mean, we'd have to pull up the plans and go
What's-
back through all of that, but
If I recall, so I've seen this house once before, and
Okay.
it was for the ADU,
Yeah,
and it was a reapproval because it had kind of timed out.
that's right.
And so it may be that, anyway, this is the third time you've been up, at least. This meeting is the third time that your house has been.
Yeah, we did an original kind of restoration of the main house, and then we were here for the garage which got approved, and then we had to come back because of the timeout.
So this is number 4.
So this is the fourth time, I guess.
Any
Right.
comments about the wall, the proposed wall? I'm struggling to see how that follows the standards for, in this, on page 51, number 1, retain and preserve location and material of intact carrier defining driveways. So that's where I'm struggling on, trying to see how to get you to, I understand the struggle.
Yeah.
To be honest, it looks like it's been moved before. But that's just a guess. It could have been a swale or some sort of water element on the right side. But,
Yeah.
and I think making it a trapezoid is not something I've seen before, to make it such a broad pinch. So that's where I'm struggling. I want to hear from other commissioners on how they're seeing this apply to the standards. I'm sorry, that's wrong of me.
You also would be taking, I mean, you've got this left side that has this curve in it, and the right side has this, very distinct curve. And you'd still have this curve on the left, but then you'd have this new straight wall on the right. I tend to agree with Commissioner Hornaday about the shape and it looking more like a modern driveway if you put a straight line down through there. Also, just in, I don't know that this is directly relevant, but when you pour new concrete for like a concrete wall, it's gonna be really hard to make it look much like that one on the left. Just because, unless you do something really special, it just comes out this gray, Yeah, as you can see in the patch on the front, that's what that,
The one with the little steps coming
on
down
the step.
into
Yeah.
the porte cochere.
No, you can order tinted concrete, but
Other commissioners?
I have just a brief question. Have you ever had, we'll just say, has an EMS vehicle ever been up your driveway?
We have not had the need for any
And
EMS
that's a good thing,
vehicles
but
to
just
our driveway.
in
Yes.
speaking.
Yeah, knock
Right.
on wood.
Right,
They
and
stay on
just,
the street.
I'm just looking at the access, if just that had ever happened, you probably have a
Some
fire
pretty
hydrant
big
close
vehicles
by.
have been in there because they've built an ADU back there, so.
There was a trailer, wall to wall on it
Yeah.
yesterday.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, there are certain vehicles like the trailer, there's a couple vehicles that just haven't been able to get up through there, but yeah, vehicles can pass. It is a very difficult thing to navigate every day, so, I certainly understand the standard, and for us, it's just a challenge to get up and down the driveway.
Yeah, I don't know how those 70s LeSabres and stuff and how they worked on that. Hit on the bumper coming down and sides going up.
We did, since the submission, we did create an alternate, and I don't know if this would help your concern about the curve that would be missing. I don't know. I don't know, can I do this? Can I hand?
There's a projector thing that staff will show you.
And while I'm up here, I'm just gonna correct myself. I've dug out the site plan for the last application last year, and I was wrong. We did approve for the driveway to be resurfaced with embedded aggregate. Memory is worse than I thought, apparently. Can you, Haley, would you mind switching over to the projector? Or are we on the projector?
Able to switch over to the projector. I'm not sure, let me see if Logan's supposed to do that where they're at, or if I'm supposed to do it on my end.
Use the microphone.
all we had.
Okay.
Awesome, thank you.
Sure.
So in this design, we angled out from the portico share to essentially get to, I forget what, I think we were trying to achieve 12 or 13 feet of width of the driveway versus the 10. So I think you see the angle out, and then from that point, it goes straight, and then it keeps a curve at the end, but the radius of the curve, as you can see, gets diminished, so, because that part right there, that radius, that's where most of the damage has happened, that very large radius. So this shrinks the radius, still widens it out, maybe maintains a little bit more of the character that you're looking for, but still gives us enough width so that when people are pulling in, they aren't afraid.
This is a lot preferable, I think, because especially at the street, it stays the same.
Yeah, it definitely looks more similar at the street.
It does stay the same material at the street? For the, all the way to the to the curve, and then it's just that first foot or two is the same on the street, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it'll still be concrete. We are planning on power washing the other side. We haven't gotten to it yet, so I don't know if it'll ever look new again, but we were gonna fix the cracks and try and power wash it and see if we could just make
Don't
it
do
a
that.
little bit nicer.
I was going to suggest that if you want new concrete or new stonework to look old, you can pour buttermilk on it and algae will grow.
Is that right?
So it'll look aged quicker.
I
You
love
can
it.
also throw dirt at it.
So I'm not sure if this helps the number one thing by retaining and preserving the materials of intact character-defining driveways. So I think we're still at the same place with this, or I'm not seeing a big difference in replacing it and changing the slope. I see what you're doing, and I understand what you're doing.
I think maybe what you're trying to do is more aesthetic, but like in the standards, it says you can replace any portion of historic fence or wall that is damaged or deteriorated beyond repair. But this situation is not damaged beyond repair. I think it's more, I don't know, there's a practical side that we see with hitting the walls, but we think that you have to maintain the character because it's not beyond repair. Including that curve, which that drawing helps a whole lot more. And then, I don't know if numbers would help us, like talking about inches and like what the difference is between the drawing and your application, and then this drawing shows, for example.
Take some, so what measurements maybe? I did take some measurements.
Yeah, I guess it would just help us maybe get a better, I don't know, do other people feel the same? I don't know.
What I'd be interested in is this photograph that shows from the street, just, the main approach, if it were marked to show where the old wall was, where the new wall was gonna start. Like where in that curve. So you could tell how much it changed the view from the street.
For this one or the other one?
Well, basically, if you could take this design and show it on,
He's
Like an
not seeing
overlay,
what you're
like an
seeing.
overlay on the photograph? We're looking at the photograph.
you could mark it on the photograph so that it's,
And how would that help with standard one on page 51?
that seems like a loaded question.
It does, doesn't it? I don't mean for it to be. But
Yeah, it is the configuration.
what's that? The standard?
Yeah.
The top one. It says retain and preserve historic walls that contribute to the overall historic character of the buildings or building site. Retain and preserve location, configuration, materials of intact character defining historic driveways that contribute to the overall historic character of the site. Widening of existing driveways and wall relocation will alter the that's just staff.
I take your point. I mean, once you decide this is character defining, this is definitely the configuration of
An old narrow driveway.
yeah. And, part of the charm of these old narrow driveways, of which there are many, is that you look at it and you think, how did anybody ever get up there? And it's because they had their little carriages and not their LeSabres.
Yeah, I think, we've gone around Montford and looked around, and we're one of the few
Sorry,
houses.
can you go back to the
Microphone.
microphone?
Yeah, we're one of the few houses that actually have a retaining wall on both sides. And we actually didn't find any others when we've gone around, which is what makes this so hard. A lot of people have one on one side and maybe nothing on the other side, or a hill or whatever. But for us, it's like, the Star Wars tunnel and Death Star. You're just you get into this thing,
Yeah.
and it's just, and I get the look, and I get what you're saying. Historically, I get it. It's charming unless you have to drive up it and down it every day, and then it loses its charm very quickly with all the scratches and dents that get onto your car and other people's car who come to your house. So that's the thing that we're trying to find the right balance between modern life and historic
And
preservation.
the ADU in the back, does it have a garage on the bottom floor? Like
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
where
it
you.
does. Yeah, that's where we're ideally gonna hope to avoid 6 inches of snow on our car and park in and do all that stuff, so yeah.
Any other questions for the applicant? All right, we'll holler if there's another time to come up, but I think we're gonna open it up and then chat a bit. Thank you very much.
Appreciate the time.
Thank you. Is there anybody here to speak on this application on 265 Cumberland Avenue? Seeing none, I'm going to close the floor for public comment. Commissioners, let's hear from each of us on this, on this driveway situation.
Leslie stepped out for just a sec, so you want to start to the, sorry.
I thought there was someone at the door.
Who wants to go
It's
first?
just the exterior doors out there are making this door bounce, so
okay.
maybe, that's what I was thinking. I heard the same thing.
Commissioner Moxley?
I was just gonna say that I'm aligned with what you had verbalized earlier, that it's not.
The character definingness of it? Okay.
Yeah, number one.
Yeah, I'm pretty set on that we have to retain and preserve the location, configuration, and materials of intact character defining historic driveways.
Commissioner Mays?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's not like the finest, one of these granite retaining walls, but I think I would call it character defining, and it would change the configuration of it. I like the second design much better, but it also would change the configuration of it.
I'm stuck looking at page 8 of the application, which is looking down the driveway from the house. And you can see where this curve is and how much of a pain in the butt that must be for them. And I just wish you could just lop that little bit off, and just give them that foot of space. And then somehow maintain the rest of the driveway. Because I do understand, we have to be practical, we have to work within modern things, and vehicles keep getting bigger. I mean, either they get really small or they get really big as time progresses. So, our job is to work with the evolution of what is going on with what people's needs are. I don't find concrete to be that historical. I agree that, you can age it, you can make it look more aged to try and match it. Eventually, over time, it will blend in to some extent. I want to find a way to make it work for them. I think that there might be a compromise in here, and I'm trying to be open to it. I do agree that the original drawing was way not going to pass for me, making it a trapezoid, just. But if there's a way to kind of just cut off that little bit of a curve, I'm open to it.
Commissioner Holt?
Yeah, well, I'm in agreement with everything you've said, so I won't repeat that.
Okay.
And my thoughts are always, I try to think about safety or access, emergency vehicle. And I don't see this as a major deviation from the existing. I think it's to improve accessibility or access. And as I brought up, I'm thinking unfortunately it'll never happen, but if an emergency vehicle was trying to access or leave quickly, and they hit the wall or something like that. So I don't think the statutes address that, but I think you covered. So I'd like to see us work with a solution.
Commissioner Humphrey?
Well, it's probably only I would think of trying to remove 10 or 12 feet of that, cut back the earth and put it back in. But you want a new looking wall anyway, and we're all trying to keep the old looking wall. But I wondered if you could somehow ask your contractor if they would try and move this just at the curve where our other commissioners are talking about.
I don't understand. What do you mean? What move? Which one?
Well, in the view looking from the porte cochere, with your back to the porte cochere, you can see the part that juts out. Minimize what gets cleared rather than straighten out the whole perimeter lines. Or even just replace those with poured concrete with aggregate in it, like your driveway. I mean, we're gonna have, when you're repaving, they're gonna want to tidy up the edges anyway. They're not gonna want to just pour between the funny walls. That was, I'm sure, not helpful, but that was what I was thinking about.
No, it's helpful. Okay, so it sounds like we have some issues with the, what's being proposed. And there's some discussion on maybe they can come back with something else that's surgical a little further up the driveway.
Improves access, yeah, which I think is what you're trying to achieve.
Egress, and just all the problems with the driveway. So is that something that you want the applicant to amend and come back and show what that is? How much of that wall is being snipped back? Ground back? Is that what, I don't know how much.
I think it would be helpful if they could come back with a to scaled site plan that clearly you could see the dimensional change. Because I mean, the second drawing, I agree, was sort of more in keeping with what was there, but without knowing how, if that's just a conceptual plan, we don't know what the actual dimensional difference is. I think that's important.
So that's two plans. One plan for the revised, the sheet that you had on the, what is that, a credenza? What is that called, that little thing?
It's called an Elmo. It's a projector.
Okay.
It's the new school, old school projectors.
It's too much information for now, but thank you. So a little bit clearer version of what you showed on the Anolo or whatever it is, and then Are we asking to see even less impact by, or are you, there's a voice for people to surgically, I'll use that word again so I'll remember what I'm talking about, on the dogleg part of the left, north side of the driveway. Is that north?
It's the south side.
Is the south side that has the pinch? Okay,
House faces west.
right.
So, I mean, yeah, I think what would be helpful too for the applicant is to understand, like, is there, because there was like the majority of you that were taking concern with modifying the wall, period. And so I just want to make sure that we don't tell them, like, go to the trouble of making this revised drawing if there isn't support for, even if they do that it would change anything.
I think we're asking for a driveway that replaces less concrete, and especially less concrete by the street. Is what I'm hearing from 3 commissioners. And I understand your point on, there's 4 commissioners who would just vote pretty much no, I think. But I think this is a way to kind of get you. So what I'd like to ask you to say is, I'd like to pull my application and continue it till March, or when you can show a little more detail on that second drawing, and a possibility of a second drawing just shaving back some of the pinch point. Does that make sense? Yeah. I think that'd be, okay.
I think I get, and I do have, this is a dimensional, this was done in SketchUp, so I have all the dimensions, I just didn't put them on the drawing, so I'm happy to bring it back with dimensions.
Okay.
Would that be for the second version I presented on the Elmo? If I just put dimensions, like you're asking how wide over, how big is the area, or those types of things?
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Which part of this wall, if you look at the, which part of the wall are people hitting?
So this drawing, so the red circle is basically the part of the radius that you're seeing on the left drawing, or the left diagram picture. So that is the most hit. I'm not saying that there aren't other parts that got hit.
And is any part of that because the wall's leaning in towards the driveway, or is it just, it's just?
It's not, it's actually
tilted?
not leaning, no, at
Okay.
all, no. It's, I was just gonna open the other pictures, maybe it would help, yeah, help. I'm making a guess as to why people keep hitting that. The other parts have gotten hit, but that part seems to get hit the most. And you can kind of see all those white scrapes and things. My guess is, because I've done it myself, when you come this way around that corner, it's just deceiving how long that radius keeps going as you're turning the corner. And also when you're coming back down the driveway, like if you're backing down, I hope nobody ever has to do this, but if you back down the driveway, because it's angles this way, your brain is you look at the porte cochere and it's kind of angled this way, but you have to drive this way. So a lot of times when people are backing out, they don't realize you have to.
It's counterintuitive.
It's counterintuitive. It's like almost like a.
Like driving a trailer or something.
Yeah, exactly. You have to go. You're backing out straight, and then you have to go left if you want to hit the wall. So anyway, that's my
It looks like too, I'm looking at the site plan, that you have like in between the porte cochere and the new ADU, you've got a parking pad turnaround sort of situation. Is that correct?
Well, right now it's nothing, but as part of the application for the garage, there's like a place to hopefully.
Turn around or park?
Yeah, we'll see if
Okay.
we can actually do that, but we have maximized the width of what we can actually work with up there to be able to turn around, yeah, up there. So,
So when you go back, what you should be hearing from this commission is cut it back very gently, or don't wholesale change isn't flying really well with the standards. It's not a personal opinion. I understand. I get what you're with the, but I think that's what would be the takeaway is removing less original material, especially street side. And that's still kind of pushing the standards a little hard, but, so we're gonna ask you if you'd like to come back in March.
Can I just ask you one more question about
Sure,
your
of course.
comment about the concrete? I just want to make sure I understand. There was a comment about less concrete or something at the front. Was there anything related to that I needed to address in the drawing?
I think we just want to reduce the look of new concrete as much as possible.
I see.
Yeah, just try to retain the historic character.
Okay.
Since it's gonna have embedded aggregate added into it, I think,
Are we talking the wall or the driveway?
I'm thinking the whole thing. I'm
Okay.
just, thinking that they're gonna be a combination of,
Is the wall actually embedded aggregate also, or is it solely concrete?
It's concrete. I mean, there's rocks in it, but it's not meant to show the rocks. It's just like straight concrete.
Okay.
make the cars even more.
Yeah. I have a rock wall in my yard, and I've hit it several times. I would just say to Commissioner Moxley's point, I think you were talking about the turnaround that behind the porte cochere. Is that what you were pointing out? I think that's a good point, just as an FYI, if you weren't maybe here for that application. That I'm just looking at the previous approval, and the turnaround parking area that's behind the porte cochere that was approved is about 30 feet deep along the side of the house and about 25 feet or so wide. So there is, I don't know if you guys, it sounds like maybe you haven't improved it yet, but there will be room to turn around and go straight out of the driveway instead of backing out of it, if that is helpful information for anyone to know.
And I think when it started, like one person was parking in the porte cochere, and one person was parking in the garage. Maybe I'm thinking of a different one.
Well, we only have one car.
Okay, look at you. All right, so can we move to March?
Moving to March is fine. Oh, just sorry, one last question. Is
All
there
right.
anything about the application that was mentioned for the other Cumberland property that we could look at to whatever help
Staff can
them?
share that with you, the
get
one
their
at
approval.
the,
Okay.
you know which one we're talking about?
Yeah.
Directly across.
I think it's 230, the one.
Yeah, I think that sounds right.
Okay.
Yeah, we can pull out the plans for that for sure.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much for the time.
All right, so do we vote on that?
Mm-hmm.
All in favor of, is there a motion to move this to March?
Move to continue 265 Cumberland Avenue to the March hearing.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right. Thank you very much for bearing with us as we got our bearings. Barely.
Now I don't know how to zoom back out. Did he zoom in to make it
Yeah, you do the plus.
Yeah, that's.
any
You can usually
sense?
do it on the mouse, too.
I know, but if you go to 100, look what it does. It's going up, but
That's how it was.
That's how it was,
That's
okay.
our punishment.
there, yeah. Okay, now 101 Santee Street.
No,
Word,
One
no.
Woodlawn.
What?
One Woodlawn.
I think that maybe, are you guys,
No.
is this on the web folder? Because I think the web folder, it went out of order, so,
Fine.
yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
That didn't get updated if you're on the web folder versus the commissioner folder.
Okay.
Sorry. All right. 101 Santee Street, this application is also for a driveway, but a new driveway. This is a house that was constructed in 2022 in the middle of the block on Santee Street on the north side of the historic district. This conversation came up around a driveway for this site when it was originally proposed for development. It's a very small lot, and they had to excavate quite a bit to build this house. And you can't see it in this picture, but they ended up having to build about a 10-foot tall retaining wall around the west property boundary. It was originally supposed to be like a 4-foot tall boulder wall that then became like a 30-foot long, 10-foot tall verti-block wall that now has thankfully grown in, so you can't really tell it's there. So anyways, just giving some context for the proposed site plan. I guess I need to blow this up. Let me go over here. So we can look at the site plan. All right, so the proposed site plan on the left, they are proposing to construct a concrete track driveway to the right of the stairway. And as part of that city requirements, they do need to construct a 10-foot deep driveway, solid concrete driveway apron. This drawing is not to scale, so a little bit unhelpful in that way. So I think it would be helpful if we could either get a scale drawing or have dimensions, because the driveway is certainly not going to be 50 feet long. If you were imagining that apron is 10 feet, then it's a pretty long driveway. It's definitely not going that far into the site. In any case, it's going to be, I think, a little bit tricky to build. So they're going to have to excavate some more, and then they're proposing some stone pavers along the left side of the driveway. That would kind of be how you connect over to the stairway if you're getting out of your car. And then they are proposing to construct a new 40-foot long section of retaining wall to the right of the driveway. And then if you were standing at the street, they did install a trash enclosure. This is not something that we ever issued a CA for, so part of this is after the fact approval to install that and relocate it up to the kind of top of where the new driveway would go. So I just noted in my staff report that we needed, like I said, either a revised site plan drawn to scale or a plan with dimensions. And that we also need to, there's landscaping noted in the project description. We need to see what that will be from a planting perspective. There is mention of perhaps a new handrail on the right-hand side of the walkway. The handrail was something that was put in without approval as well, the existing handrail, so we need to retroactively approve that, and also to know if they are in fact proposing a new section of handrail on the right-hand side. And then we also need the height dimension for the retaining wall. And so those are my notes for this application. Do you have any questions for me?
And there's no material choices for the retaining wall, is there?
I thought it was noted as concrete in the project description, but maybe I am lost in retaining wall world at this point.
It would match the existing one. The existing wall.
We'll hold on for just a second until we get you up here to talk on that. That's all right.
Yeah, so I would just say going back to the existing wall, that was an enforcement issue. It was built of verti-block, and that's not something that the commission had approved in the past, and they only approved it because it was already built and it was giant and it was behind the house and there's pretty much no way they could get it out. And so they stipulated that it would be basically retro mortared, which I'm sure looked terrible given that it was verti-block, but then they also stipulated that it have like vines growing over it like it is so that you wouldn't see it. So I would say if their new wall needs to meet the current material standards, it'd be concrete or similar material, stucco, something.
And that's what we see. I didn't see this part of the application. So it's come straight down and then that's a wall. And do we know the max height of that wall?
I can't imagine that there's no way they need to build a retaining wall that would be as tall to connect in like this. The wall is back, that other wall is back here. So if they need to connect in, I don't understand why it would need to be that tall, but
So it's not a topography change much in this.
I do feel a little bit like I'm not sure I follow exactly how much.
We'll get some answers.
No, I know, I just want to say that it's not fully clear to me, like, it sort of seems like to build this driveway, they'd have to fully excavate out this entire area, which may then actually necessitate a taller wall, and that would give me concern. But there's not really a place for them to put a driveway. We've run into this issue with a handful of other lots in Montfort, because none of the lots that are left are really big lots, and so there's not anywhere to really get off-street parking, and I'll let the applicant speak to this, but she did relay to me that her car was hit because this is at an intersection, a T intersection, where there's another road that dead ends into Santee Street right in front of this house. So on-street parking is a little tricky, so I'd certainly, I mean, I think anybody would understand why the off-street parking is desired in most urban environments. But it's just, I am a little bit concerned, or maybe just need additional information in terms of like the actual changes to the topography of this site, because I think it's probably gonna look pretty different than.
And we're just considering the parking area, not any of the other stuff you mentioned.
Nope, that's all in the CA. All the other stuff is in there, the CA request.
Okay.
So yeah, it's, you know, I focused heavily on the driveway because I think that's driving a lot of this, of course, but then there's other kind of other features that will be at play for sure, including the wall. And I just don't, I'm not sure, based on the way the project description was written, if they are in fact wanting to do a new handrail. So that's just a question that I have.
Any other questions for staff? Okay, thank you
Okay.
very much.
All right, thank you.
Now we'll hear from the applicant and tell us a little bit more about the project. Stay close.
I'm Carol King, the co-owner of 101 Santee. The reason that we need the driveway is multifaceted. As you mentioned, our car was hit. It's kind of like every time cars come out from that section, that the street that's right across from us, that it's right in front of the house. You can't really see that. Trucks back out, and they are usually pretty careful, but occasionally they're not, and they come really close to our cars. And it's also a pretty busy street. Santee is kind of like a thoroughfare. And anyway, we did have 2 cars out there, and now we only have 1, because one was totaled by a truck backing up from the street in front of ours, and so now we just have 1.
I'm sorry, Carol, to interrupt. Were you here when we did the swearing in?
No.
No, okay. Sorry, thank you for
I had it
catching.
written down and
No,
I forgot.
sorry.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I thought you said.
All right, I'm sorry, no more,
No, it's
no
to-
more,
no,
no more,
that's
no more.
totally fine. I just-
Raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear to affirm, or affirm that the information you present during, and that includes the stuff you already said, you present during the hearing of certificate of appropriateness or preliminary subdivision approval before the historic recess shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
So anyway, that's one of the reasons we would like to have the driveway. And then the other reason is we did try to sell the house last summer, and every single person that looked at it loved the house, but they all said, we can't navigate up those stairs. We need a driveway so we can walk
Okay.
across. And so I was like, all right,
So,
driveway.
tell us about your driveway. How deep into the ground is it going there? Is it changing the earth?
No, I think it'll just lay on top of the earth, the 2 strips.
So
It's
it'll
not
be-
a driveway, it's 2 strips.
Okay.
2 concrete
Yep,
strips,
yep.
and there'll be plantings in the middle, like ground cover. And there will be on the side a retaining wall. I don't know if you want to look at the other pictures that I have.
Yeah,
in here.
that's fine.
It might be a little bit easier to see.
I think part of the confusion too is like, what is the need for the retaining wall if it's gonna go, if the driveway would be flush with the ground?
originally, the person that drew the plan said, well, we just have some boulders there, because there's a hill right there where it says boulders that goes up. So I guess that was just kind of to hold the ground in, so it's not gonna like fall in on the driveway concrete strips. But then someone else came out with her, more of an engineering type, and he's like, I think you're gonna need a retaining wall for that. So it's just to hold that ground in, because there's quite a slope there. And they said that the retaining wall could match exactly what we have in the back, which you can't even see right now. And we'll just grow the, ivy and stuff and other plantings over that wall, and it won't even show that much. And that will only be 2 to 4 feet tall. So those are the reasons for the driveway. This obviously is not to scale, so I just wanted to show you approximately where the strips would go. The trash can enclosure we can do away with. There was no place to put the trash can, and there was no way to pull it down the hill. So it was like, okay, I'm just gonna put an enclosure around it, so it's not like ugly having trash cans exposed, but if that needs to be that way, that's the way we'll do it.
Is that a granite curb on your street?
I don't know.
I think so.
It's the last street in the historic Montford district, so.
Go ahead. I was just wondering if you knew right off the top of your head. I can't tell from the picture, and I forgot to look till now.
Don't think it's granite. But anyway, in terms of, so the driveway would go up, it would flatten out a little bit at the top, and then they would put a little thing so you get out of the car, like a big,
Pad.
what do you call it? One of those flagstone things. So you can get out of the car and then just walk over. There's a little sidewalk there right beside the top of the stairs along the side of the house. So you just walk to that, and then you walk right across and then go up to the house.
It would actually go kind of up the hill and then level out
Slightly.
on the top,
Yeah.
like close to the house.
Yeah. And then there's not going to be another railing on the right side of the steps. The railing was just suggested so when you get out of the car and walk across, you wouldn't feel like, well, I'm gonna fall down the stairs, So, that was just something the person that drew the plan suggested, but it doesn't have to be. And it might not be needed. Kind of depends on how level it is once you get up there.
So that is bringing in dirt, or are you changing the topography of the front yard for this parking?
Not as far as I know.
So it just kind of levels off up there, and so you,
It just kind of levels off.
Okay.
already. Let me see, is there anything else that you have questions about?
I was gonna note that in the project description, it kind of looks like granite in the picture, but the project description says, that the existing curbing to be cut is not historic concrete.
Oh, I thought that she meant that it was that just putting an apron in was not historic, but maybe she meant the curb itself. Okay.
yes.
So anyway, I don't think it's going to look that different. I mean, we'll have lots of plantings. And so it's just gonna be, and then plantings to cover the wall. So I don't think it's gonna look, I think it's gonna look pretty
What's the
good.
purpose of the boulders and the retaining wall on the right, if you're not changing the ground? Is it just to,
There's a slope, there's
Okay.
quite a slope, right there where it says boulders, it just, goes up quite a bit. So I think if, the idea was that, well, it's smarter to hold in that dirt and that ground. I mean, maybe we don't need it. She didn't think that we needed it, but the person that came with her that would be doing the work said he thought it needed the wall.
Well, two things. One is, I wonder if
maybe just pulling straight in instead of trying to do this curve up by the stairs would look more consistent with other driveways in Mumford. My other question would be is, you said you talked with an engineer about the plans?
I
or
didn't.
No?
Teresa, the person the company that drew the plan, brought someone out there to look at it. I wasn't there, I've been out of town.
Okay. I mean, it might be helpful to hear from them about the constructability. I just can't, to me, I don't, it's hard for me to picture how they're not gonna modify the topography to build it.
I know, because it sort of slopes. I mean, it kind of goes down. It kind of looks like you need to add like some fill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Well, it looks like, I mean, you have the stairs like up, and then it's sort of kind of flat, and then it looks like it kind of goes down into a swale. I mean, not a crazy amount, but it looks like.
There might be another picture if you scroll through those.
Yeah, sorry, I was looking at the one that's really close to the, yeah, that one.
Oh, yeah, the drain is gonna be moved so that it would probably be in the middle of the two concrete strips. And,
Sure.
I don't know, maybe.
And just so I'm clear, I mean, you would, if you needed to retain earth, you would use boulders and not like what's going on in the back. You would not use vertiblock.
No, we would use the block. I think, according to what the second person that came out and looked at it said.
But the VertiBlock, that was constructed without a CA, and that was like a huge issue, so it's not an approved
Probably just
material
wanna
for
use
walls. And
boulders.
no.
For boulders?
Well, I mean,
The
I think-
standard,
Fine with me. Whatever you want is fine.
it's what
I get what-
it's
I
what
get
the
where you're
standards
headed.
call for, like certain materials, they're listed in there.
So I think there's stone and concrete and brick are the materials that are identified in the design standards, so.
Okay, yeah, we bought the house after it was already completed. We didn't
Yeah,
have anything to do with the
thankfully
building
didn't
process.
have to deal with that whole issue. It was
Yeah,
not
so
a
I
fun
didn't
case.
even realize that the wall was not approved.
It did eventually get approved, but like I was explaining to the commission, it was with the stipulation that it basically be completely hidden from view
Oh, okay.
because the material isn't
Yeah, you really don't
historically appropriate.
see it in the back.
There's just no way to like remove the wall after it got built because of the houses in front of it, so.
Yeah, and it's the builder actually told me that, because I called him and asked him, I said, why didn't you guys put a driveway in? And he said, well, we had already gotten the plan approved, and then we thought, and then we realized you could put one in. He said, we just didn't go back and get it approved. So they just didn't put one in. But anyway, yeah, if making the driveway straight would be better, that's fine with me. I mean, I'm not particular, I just want to get.
but you're not, the topography of the site isn't changing significantly.
I don't think so.
And there's no space to park in the back, so that's what's kind of allowing you
Yeah,
to,
because, it backs up to woods, and then other people own all of that land back there. And there would be no place to get in. I mean, I've looked at it, but you'd have to, like, either get an easement or buy property.
no.
knock down
Let's
trees
just
and
stay
stuff.
on this one, okay.
Yeah, so that's why it's, I mean, ideally, I would have wanted to do that, build a garage back there, but it's not really feasible.
All right, so you're gonna put the parking, what is that?
That was just an alternative to.
Okay,
Concrete. I
Mhm.
thought, well, maybe we could use some of these blocks, it would be even less
Mhm.
intrusive, so.
so you're moving the trash thing to the back of the parking area, to the top of the, top bumper, front
Yeah.
bumper.
That was the plan, but it doesn't, I
Yeah.
don't have to have that if
And
it's
it-
not a thing
I
that
don't-
has to be approved.
I don't have a concern about it. I just was noting that it was built without an approval, so it
Right,
needed to be part of
right,
this
right, right.
conversation. And I would say that I think we need a grading plan for this, because.
Okay, a grading plan, a drawing showing it as a straight inch instead of that crook.
If I had to guess, I'll just, on that,
Uh-huh.
sorry to interject, but on that point, I would say it's probably crooking over to avoid more grading, because it levels out over by the sidewalk. And if it, depending on how long it was, do we even have a measurement of how long
It
this
could
thing
be
is?
20 feet or more, 20 to 22 feet.
Because you
One
have to
car.
have, you still have to have a 10-foot apron on the,
From the street up.
Yeah,
front.
from the street to the top.
Yeah, about 20 feet.
you have to have a 10-foot concrete apron on the front and then do the track things you're talking about, I think, after that.
I'm sorry, Will. You
Is
were
that
s-
right, Alex?
Yeah, yeah, that's the city's standard for driveways, is that the apron has to be 10 foot deep, so.
Oh.
So there is a drawing of, there's a second drawing of the apron. This is the original drawing.
Thanks, but no thanks, Siri.
Commissioners.
Thanks, but no thanks.
Do you know if I find the more recent drawing?
Yeah, it's pulled up on the presentation, if you go to the tab with the yellow.
On the very top, yeah, top right, yep.
Presentation?
Mhm.
It's right there.
Oh, yeah, okay, so yeah, this is the one that shows the apron and the wall. The other one just showed the boulders. Sorry, that's so tiny.
So that's 10 feet on a 22-foot driveway, that apron?
No, that's why I was saying, it's not drawn to scale. And
Gotcha,
That's why we
okay.
need that.
I'm
So it
with you.
sounds like we need like kind of a checklist of things to bring back.
Mm-hmm.
Because the application is just not complete.
it
So
just-
make that checklist for her.
Okay. I would think it would be a scale drawing of the driveway,
Measurements.
showing the depth of the apron, driveway apron, and then the runners, the concrete runners, with a total measurement for the length of the driveway.
And a grading plan.
Yeah, I'm just trying not to
Oh,
exceed the
sorry.
typing.
And the top of the retaining wall, the heights of the wall.
Yeah, and heights and lengths for the wall.
Slope,
When you
slope
say
of the
grading
driveway.
plan, do you mean like is that something
Cut
that a landscape architect has to do? I mean, you're talking about like actual elevation drawings?
Doesn't have to be a landscape architect, but we do need a grading plan. I mean,
She, the person who drew it is a landscape architect, so, I just need her to get more in depth.
if you just tell her you need a grading plan, she should know what you're.
And historically, the straightness of the driveway is a character, it matches the house if it doesn't curl,
Yeah,
doesn't
I
fish up.
think she just put that curve in there just to kind of make it match the curve of the steps.
Yeah, I got it, yeah.
You may also want to look at, there's a house over on Birch Street, which is the one that goes into the cemetery. It's got a 2-track driveway. They're permeable, and maybe it curves toward the house. I can't remember. You may want to look at that one just as an example.
That are similar to these,
On
concrete
Birch.
block things, the grass blocks.
Yes, but it's more tracks, but grass block tracks. But also, it may have a curve in it. I just mentioned that as one you may want to look at. And then if you find those examples that you find helpful to your argument, you want to bring us pictures or send pictures to Alex for
Yeah, take photos and note the address of the examples you share, so that we know it's Mumford and not Charlotte or somewhere.
So you're gonna show,
Propose a certain
If it's one
detail.
that you want to use as part of your argument, we need to have the picture and the address as part of the package. Yeah.
Okay, I did put a lot of pictures in, with the
Yeah.
addresses.
yeah, with addresses, we saw those.
Yeah, we saw those. Those were a little different because like one of them had the track, but it wasn't quite the same. But any that you can get that would be closer,
That would have just the track.
if that's what you want, right? And then I think you have to address the trash can corral. Does it need to be redesigned when it's moved up the hill?
I think the design is okay. I mean, we've approved lattice-type structures for trash enclosures before. I wasn't trying to make a thing about that. I was just letting you know that it was there, and we hadn't issued a CA for it, and it's gonna be moved, and I think
Okay.
it'll be better farther away from the street.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
And then that,
Well, now that we will have something like a concrete strip to pull the driveway, to pull the cans down, we could just hide behind a tree or something. It's okay, right, I don't have to have that enclosure.
It's
It
up,
also helps with being bear-proof.
it's up to you.
Because we have lots of bears that get in the trash can in our little area.
and then a little bit on that, the height of that wall that you're talking about, the retaining wall, how that could be accomplished with natural stone, versus the prefab squares.
Versus what we have, yeah.
Right.
Not that.
And I think, unless there's another commissioner who has other thoughts, I think that's it. And so,
Mine too.
well, what you got?
Well, when I look at the drawing, it looks like when you drive your car up, you're going to stop before the top of the stairs, because that's where it ends, unless you're going to drive beyond the strips. Because I would think that you want to get your car up to the flatter area where they've graded it to build your house.
Yeah, I think that's why a better drawing next time is going to cover it, hopefully be more detailed.
And,
And you might be able to make it straight if you start it over where the trash cans are. I mean, it'd be easier for everything, for driving on it, for building it, and for everything.
Yeah, and it
And
sort
less
of looks.
retaining wall needed, too.
And I think that, again, to go back to Commissioner Watkins' point, I think a revised drawing will help a lot, because it looks like you can get further back on the site. I mean, although I do remember that wall being really close. So if they could draw that accurately so that we could understand the proximity of that wall and like where you actually can terminate as far as parking your car on there, I think that would help a lot too, because.
that's the bottom of it, the corner?
And it comes out, it's like right behind this tree is where it ends.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Getting this area right, well, I guess we can only say trees now, but, yeah, this area right here is more flat, right? Starting right here.
I would
Yeah.
just say that the commission did approve the wall to be there with landscaping in front of it, so
Either way.
don't take any trees out.
But there has to be screening, and that should be shown in your drawing, so you don't have to come back to Alex. Some screening between the neighbor on the parking. Is that, staff, what is the,
The neighbor?
I'll read it to you. I thought it was in here about, Alex, what is the rule for screening of this parking area?
I mean, I
Some
think
plants?
if you call it a parking area, it says that it needs to be screened. I mean, we've typically required screening for driveways, so.
Okay. Okay.
And they've noted on, like, there will be additional landscaping, it's just not shown on the plan. It looks like there's plants on there, but it doesn't tell us what the actual species is, so.
On the line
Because
drawing?
it's from the plant list.
Yeah.
But it
Okay.
doesn't correlate to the drawing, I guess.
So do you have what you need to come back maybe in March or April, May? When do you want to come back?
This,
March? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we can always put another tree or something there next to the
Yeah.
parking spot. I mean, shouldn't be an issue.
No.
You're so agreeable.
And the
good.
people next to us they just have a regular driveway. It just goes straight up, and their house is kind of newish also.
Now, what's yours if, driveway, if theirs is regular? Irregular?
She means she's got the tracks instead of.
Okay, oh, all the
But
way
I'm
cut.
trying to make it
Gotcha.
fit into the
I was just,
landscape a little bit better, so it doesn't like jump out at you.
so you
And
do
they
want to
just
come
have a
back in
regular
March?
wide driveway. Yes.
Okay, is there a motion?
Chairman, I would move that we continue the consideration
101?
of 101 Santee Street to the March meeting.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay.
And then I just want to redo, so I will bring a scale drawing showing the apron and the runners with total length of the driveway, height of walls,
And length
And length.
of walls.
and length of walls. Height and length of walls.
And confirm that's not granite on that curb. I'm sure, just so that we don't, and we'll all go by, so.
And then I need non-concrete, graded plan, make it straight, and check the granite. And I'll look at that Birch Street, some other ones that look the same.
I think he already mentioned that.
Thanks.
I think so.
I did just want to say that the resubmittal deadline is next Wednesday. So just let me know once you talk to your landscape architect or whatever, what their time frame is, and we can figure out our plan. So, okay, thank you, Carol.
Thank you very much.
Public comment.
For public comment?
Yeah, you did.
Closed it too,
I didn't even hear it. Yeah.
right towards the middle. If not, I do it retroactively.
I'm pretty sure you did.
Seems like something I do. But I don't want to question Haley on it.
Okay. Last application, 1 Woodlawn Avenue. This one is for some modifications to the rear elevation, including a porch and window and door modifications. So just to orient you, this house is in the little bend where Woodlawn connects into Bishop Place. Front elevation of the house, and this is the rear elevation. Existing and proposed site plans, and easier to look at it in the floor plan schematic. But essentially, there is, hang on, zoom out a little bit. So the proposed is on the right-hand side. There's a little porch you can see here in the photo that they're proposing to enclose. And it would become interior space, and then they would like to construct a deck on the rear elevation as well. And then there's a handful of existing windows and doors on the rear that they would like to remove on the first floor and install 2 pairs of multi-light French doors. One consideration that's always tricky for these smaller porches is that the design standards stipulate that the enclosure should be designed so that the historic character and features of the porch are preserved. There is existing railing. I didn't include it in my slide deck, but I did. I think I dropped the Sanborn map in the folder, which we can pull up. Here, let me just pull it up for you guys since y'all are in a web folder. It's probably not on there. So you can see that's the little house on the bottom that does have the little porch there that it's existing. So challenging for sure to enclose that small of an area and preserve character defining features, but so just putting that out there too, that's what the standards say. It's kind of interesting, the deck is proposed to have, I don't know, it's a little bit hard to see from the photos, but there's the, there are obviously some of these houses in Montford that have, in other historic neighborhoods, that instead of having baluster railing, they've got the railings that are set between the posts that are like a solid panel that's almost looks like siding in a way, and then they're open at the bottom. So this house does have that feature on the front, and they are proposing for the deck to have the same type of railing. The standards do say that to match to make decks compatible in scale, proportion, materials, and detail with the historic building without directly duplicating details. So I did note that railing on the deck would duplicate the detail, the kind of most prominent detail of the front porch. Most people are trying to do like really simplified porch railings, with like a 2-inch square baluster with wider spacing than what you'd see on a traditional porch railing. It's just unusual that someone actually wanted it to match, so this is kind of a new thing for me. And then there's a couple of additional items that I noted in my staff report that we need, which are the manufacturer specs for the new doors, and there's also a mechanical unit that easy to miss is in the little crux of the structure there that will have to be relocated, and so we just need a site plan that shows where that's going to go.
What is it that needs to be replaced?
Air conditioning compressor.
Yeah, there's just in the back corner of the house, there's a little mechanical unit there that will have to be relocated. So we just need
Is
to
that a
know.
ghost of a chimney on the second floor?
It sure looks like it. I had not noticed that. Good eye.
It's been like roofed over.
Yeah, I wonder then how that would have interfaced with the porch.
Especially that porch from the Sandstrom, or the
It's-
map that
yeah.
you showed. I don't see how they jive together. Unless it's.
Not
further
sure
out.
either. No, but that's a good point. Maybe that helps us not feel so concerned with the little porch.
Maybe the chimney moves. Maybe it's an S curve. It's weird to leave it floating, though. They didn't, but it matches the one on the front, the sort of, so I don't know what that is. Anyway. So your issue, were you done? I'm sorry.
I'm very done.
Good. Your issue is retaining an original section on the back that's going to get lost by the porch.
I was just noting that, but now that I'll go and sit over here and stare at this elevation, the picture a little bit more and see if I can understand by comparing it with the Sanborn, like what is going on here. Because it certainly seems like it might be a little bit different than what the Sanborn shows, and I'm not sure how we would.
But the Sanborn was from the 50s?
Was the Sanborn map showing something out further than what we're saying?
No.
There's not room for it on the other side for balance, so anyway, it's not really our issue. I was just,
No, but it is curious, yeah. It was a good catch that you noticed that. I had not noticed that when I was looking at it before.
I think it's an optical illusion in that photograph, actually. That chimney, if you look at,
you could see it from the other street.
If there are other photos that,
the porch is proud of that chimney. The chimney is back. If you look at this photograph,
Yeah, that.
yeah, just up one more. Well, yeah. Yeah,
doesn't
that
make much sense.
photograph. In the other picture, it looked like the chimney was right on top of that
oh, I see what
back
you're
door,
saying.
but it's
actually,
not. It's recessed back and. the
makes
porch is-
sense.
Oh, it comes into the house? Did? Okay, I see you. I see you now. All righty. Any questions for staff? Scrolling staff is still scrolling.
Yeah, any questions for me? Happy to help chime in. I'm sort of a little bit, I didn't get way in the weeds on, the commission has allowed modifications to windows and doors on the rear elevation. When the applicant and I met to talk about the proposed doors, we did talk about kind of consistency with the window style in this house is obviously more craftsman style, and it's kind of hard to do with multi-light doors to make them suitable for craftsman style windows like these. And so I wonder if maybe if you all are in support of the doors, that they be just full light doors instead of, so they don't really compete with the other existing fenestration. I wish that there was a window that could remain on the first floor, but if you look at the floor plan, that blank space next to the one pair of doors is a bathroom, so.
Any other questions? Okay, let's talk about your project. Thank you for waiting.
Come on, you're welcome to use my slide deck.
I will see if I can manipulate your machine here.
Yeah, just let me
Yeah,
know.
this is fine.
The Elmo machine, we got it up and running.
We're not going with Elmo.
All right.
Do you want it?
The pictures are fine.
Okay.
We can describe what we've got. My name is Brian Barrett. I'm with Blue Ridge Homes. I guess we'll just start with this picture. So we are wanting to enclose this porch. We would continue this Dutch wood lap siding around the corner with this 1x4 wood corner trim so that it would match the existing siding. We would paint it white to match. The double window that you see there would be the approximate location of the new double French door. They had chose the 15 light panels for the doors just because it matched some of the interior doors that are existing in the home. So they wanted to continue that motif. If y'all wanted to see clear light, I'm sure they wouldn't have a problem with that. We have also sent links to the manufacturer, to staff, where all of the design specs of the doors are available. But it is a wood core door that is treated for exterior use that would be painted white. The 3-light window is in a half bath that would stay. And then the air conditioning unit that she mentioned would move around to the side of the house next to the existing one that's there.
So you're keeping the window on the
Yeah,
left?
Yeah, so both of the condensing units are staying.
Oh.
You see the one that's kind of closest to that wooden fence? This one would move around to be its neighbor.
Do you have to move your electric panel?
No, well,
Okay.
the deck will go underneath. You can't really see it too well. No, it's not. Let's see. So that one was the one that would move. And then where you see that other window right there, that is into their dining area. That would be the placement of the other door that you're seeing in the floor plan. None of the colors are changing. Siding is staying exactly the same style.
You're enclosing the porch on the left, open area on the left, and that, by the railing, handrail.
Handrail, correct.
And then decking is gonna fill the space
Yeah,
as
so
a letter L.
The back of the house would then become decking, and we would maintain the required 1-foot inset from the corners. And as far as the railing is concerned, if y'all want to see pickets, we'd do pickets. We just showed that shiplap so that we matched what was showing on the front porch. But if the commission would like to see pickets or something else, I'm sure that the homeowners would be perfectly fine with that. Underneath the deck, we would use painted lattice, slats to conceal the area underneath the deck.
And are you proposing lights for outside?
No,
On your deck?
they are not. We're proposing no landscaping changes outside of, the footprint of the deck.
Any questions for the applicant? Any other specifics?
Well, I'm looking at the rear elevation,
Okay.
and I'm confused. It looks like you have a brick
That's a brick foundation.
foundation, and then a crawl space, and then the deck that has a railing, and you're saying it's horizontal siding, but it's illustrated as vertical, right?
Yeah, so in the CAD system, we did a CAD detail that we sent in that actually shows the horizontal shiplap, which is a replica of what you see on the front porch. There again, if y'all would like to see pickets or another design,
No, I'm just
I'm
trying to
more
understand.
than sure that they would change.
I'm just trying to understand the drawing. And I know yeah, you've got the deck, you have it inset from the
Yeah, the
side
corners are inset
on one
one
side.
side.
Okay, gotcha.
And if this were to be approved, storing those windows on site,
They do have a little, I guess what I'd call a single-car garage or shed that's behind this building where they could store them.
we saw that on the Sanborn map from 1940.
Yeah, so that's, the requirement is that those are determined to be historic windows. We could certainly save them on site.
Questions, problems, issues? Anybody have a problem with where we are settling on this, it sounds like? Which is approved without changes.
Approve of the condition of the door being,
A solid, simple, full sheet of glass.
Okay, if y'all want full light.
that or, oh, sorry. Or are we asking, because we don't have a spec for it, right?
You have the window.
No, it's in that folder.
We did send the email link to the manufacturer, to staff, and inside of that, they've got an incredible amount of detail about it.
Yeah, all the stuff that was submitted later is in the commissioner folder, and it sounds like you guys just are logged in on the web folder, which didn't have all the duplicated information. We do have the specs for the multi-light doors, if that's what you're.
Oh, okay. It's a solid wood, but it's treated for exterior exposure to increase longevity.
The manufacturer, do you know? It's all right.
Offhand, I do
It's all
not.
right. Sometimes, a builder just uses the same one all the time, so.
No,
so you might not.
this is one that they picked.
All right, any questions? Anybody want to make a motion about this situation we've found ourselves in? Oh, thank you. We're going to go ahead and be done with your part, then we're going to open it up for public comment. We're going to discuss, then we're going to vote, and then we're going to, so. I got to
We saved the
pretend.
easiest one for last. We're just gonna knock this out.
I'm going to open the floor for public comment. Is there anyone here? Closing the floor for public comment? You can sit for a while. Commissioners, any further comment?
Where did we land on the door? I mean, we're gonna have like.
Where did we land on the
bars,
door?
Or is it like just one sheet of glass?
One sheet of glass is where we landed, and also on the railing, whether it was mimicking the front or introducing a new material. And I think, well, I don't think, I need to find out why. Deck is designed to be compatible in scale, proportion, without directly duplicating details. We heard you. I got it.
There again, if the duplication of the front porch railing, which was really done just out of, this was what was existing. If the commission would like to see a picket design or something more dissimilar, I'm sure these homeowners would be more than amenable to that.
Is picket a, I am stumbling on that part as well about the duplicating styles, and I think showing that it's a new deck on the back with pickets is fine for this. Is there? Okay. Good. All right, well then we'll say that the back is pickets.
Okay.
that the glass is one
Full, one line.
full piece of glass, and you're gonna save the windows in the back garage.
Okay. Easy enough.
And the configuration of the pickets is to match the neighbor, or how do we make sure it's, or does it not have to have, it just has to be
I
to
defer to
code?
staff on that.
Just to code?
Yeah, I think most applications you see are spacing of 4 inches on center.
Code one, yeah.
Just code?
Yeah.
And the cap, just,
Top cap would be a 2x6.
okay.
So we have asked for the pickets on the fence to be 4-inch on center, which is code, and that was the final piece besides the.
I think we ought to ask for a detail of the handrail.
Yeah, we'll ask for a revised.
Yeah, I can
handrail
put a
drawing
CAD, the detail
for
together
condition.
for you guys. That's not a problem.
To staff, not to us. I think we're done with you.
Okay.
Okay. No offense.
I'll sit down again.
All right. Someone ready to make a motion while typing is happening?
Sure, yeah. Get there. Mr. Chairman, on the application for one, a certificate of appropriateness for 1 Woodlawn Avenue, I would move to approve the certificate of appropriate, excuse me, based on the evidence presented to this commission, including Exhibit A, the application and owner's affidavit, 3 pages, Exhibit B, the proposed site plans, floor plans, and elevation drawings, 5 pages, Exhibit C, interior photo and existing plans, 6 pages, Exhibit D, the project description, received January 28th, 2026. Exhibit E, the handrail detail, I'm sorry, strike that. Exhibit F, the exterior photos, 11 photos received January 28th, 2026. Exhibit G, the 1951 Sanborn fire insurance map, added by staff February 2nd, 2026, and the commission's actual inspection and review of the subject property by all members. I move that the commission approve the certificate of appropriateness based on the following. That the application is for the modification of the rear elevation, including enclosure of existing covered porch, removal of 4 existing windows and 1 door, installation of 2 pairs of wood single light French doors, and construction of a 24-foot 4-inch by 14-foot 9-inch wood deck with wood railing with square pickets spaced 4-inch on center. All new siding and trim will match existing. All work will be completed in accordance with approved and attached drawings and plans. All permits and variances or approvals as required by law must be obtained before work may commence. That the standards for windows and doors found on pages 84 and 85, porches, entrances, and balconies on pages 72 to 73, and decks on pages 38 through 39, and utilities and mechanical systems on pages 82 to 83 of the Montford Historic District Design Review Standards, adopted April 14th, 2010, and amended December 11th, 2019, were used to evaluate this request. This application does meet the design standards for the following reasons: the porch being enclosed is on the rear elevation. Enclosure is designed so that the historic character and features of the porch are preserved. Existing windows and doors being removed will be retained and preserved on site. The new doors will be wood. The deck will be located on the rear elevation and inset from the rear building corners by at least 12 inches. The deck is designed to be compatible in scale, proportion, materials, and detail with the historic building without directly duplicating details. Deck railings are compatible in material, color, scale, and detail with the historic building. That the action improvements proposed in the application before us for a certificate of appropriateness are congruous with the special historic character of the Montford Historic District.
Is there a second? Second from Commissioner Holt. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Okay. Mr. Chairman, based on the foregoing findings and for the reasons set forth Herein, I move that a certificate of appropriateness be issued with the following conditions. Revised handrail drawing and door specifications will be submitted for staff review and approval.
Is there a second? Second, Humphrey. Oh, Mr. Holt. Who got that one?
I just said,
You said, ah. All right, Commissioner Holt got the second on that one. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right. Thank you very much for bearing with us.
Thank you. Yeah, I'll follow up in the next couple of days.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, just really briefly, I just want to share out that we are working on our engagement stuff for the Montford Design Standard Amendments. We are in the process of developing a survey and a project page that will go live on February 27th. And the survey will be open for 3 weeks. And we will collect that data to bring back to you. And we're planning to facilitate a second special work session for the commission sometime in April for us to present that information to you and give an opportunity for you all to ask questions or share your thoughts, et cetera. And then I will likely also be at the Montford Neighborhood Association meeting again, if they'll let me come back at their April meeting. Just to be available to answer questions, et cetera. And then we'll see where we are at that point, but hopefully we're in a position to bring the amendments to you all in May for a first kind of swipe at public comment. And the survey and the project page will be shared out as widely as we possibly can through MNA, our communications, neighborhood specialist staff, et cetera, will help us push the word out, and we'll share it with you all, of course, too. And so we're hoping that we'll do public comment here in May at your regular meeting, and then hopefully get to a vote in June. And, of course, there'll be opportunity for public comment at both times. So we're trying to stay on that timeline. So that is the update I have for you on that, and we're working with our communications staff to help us get our survey dialed in so that it's helpful to folks and user-friendly in like layman's terms. It's kind of hard sometimes when we're talking about design standards, lingo and whatever, so we're trying to make it as user-friendly as possible so that we can get as many folks to weigh in as we can. So that's where we are with that.
but distributing the surveys is gonna be digital and,
Yeah, it'll be a digital survey. We can drop some, if there's somewhere like at the Montford, Tempe, Avery Center or somewhere like that, if you all think that paper surveys would be useful. It seems like Montford is one of our neighborhoods where we don't have as much challenge around internet usage, but you guys might know that better than me.
right, I don't know, there's some statistic about the listserv, there's like 10% of the neighborhood is on it. But it seems like a lot of people, it's plenty.
Yeah.
It's a very good representation.
I don't know how many subscribers they have, but we also have a neighborhood newsletter that goes out bi-weekly, and so I think that our communication staff is planning to include it there so that we can capture,
Is that a neighborhood newsletter? Where did
yeah.
you get that?
It's a citywide neighborhood newsletter. I don't remember how you sign up for that listserv. I'll look on our website tomorrow and tell you how to subscribe. I'm sure that it's on our website somewhere, I just don't know. I would think
The Neighborhood Advisory Council.
it's not the Neighborhood Advisory Council.
Right, isn't-
It's a newsletter that our communications and public
Okay.
engagement staff, our department manages, and it goes out every 2 weeks, and it's got like a variety of topics in there, so.
It's through that Simply City part.
It might be through Simplicity. I'm sure they probably have multiple ways you can sign up, but if you go on the AshevilleNC.gov website and you go to the Communications and Public Engagement Department in the drop-down menu at the top, I'm sure there's a way you can subscribe from there.
Neighborhood services page, I can put a link to it in the minutes.
Gracias.
I was gonna say, I don't think you necessarily need paper surveys at the Tempe Avery Center, but you could at least put like a flyer that has a QR code to help people who might be picking up or dropping off children or whatever.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Signs on Montford, billboards.
Billboards? Someone asked that I be in a
Skywriting.
promo video, and I said absolutely no.
A what video?
Bo video?
A promo video, because I don't need to be the face of Montford. There are plenty of other people that should be the face of Montford,
People that
not me.
volunteer. The face of Montford. Should be
No.
there should be
Contest.
a contest. The face of Montford.
Yikes.
Preservation Society's having a home tour in 2 weeks, or in 2 Saturdays, Friday and Saturday. Saturday and Sunday, the 21st and 22nd.
And I don't,
Albemarle Park.
That's correct, it's Albemarle Park, one of our historic districts.
Is your house on the tour?
My house is on the tour, y'all can
Oh,
come
wow.
through and see what Leslie and David worked on, windows.
Are you your possum trap?
Oh, the study too. Yeah, that was nicer.
I love the names of the houses.
Yeah, we're in Possum Trot. Number 4 on the tour, number 1 in your heart.
it is a favorite. It's a good, great house. Also, Preservation Society stuff, and I'm sure Will is gonna share this out at the next meeting, but just because it's in my notes. March 12th, they're also facilitating a presentation by George Smart, MC Modernist.
Mid-century modern.
I think
Yeah.
that's at UNC Asheville.
Correct.
And you can go on psabc.org if you're interested and want to know I think all of their events usually start at like 5:30, right?
Yeah, it's at 5:30. I just made the postcard, so I'm not sure. But it's at 5:30, and they're still working out parking. There's parking there. And then there's a James Vester Miller talk at UNCA and online about the brick mason, James Vester Miller, who born into slavery and worked with Richard Sharp Smith a lot, or at least they know a lot about that. But Ann Stokely is speaking about that on, I believe it's Sunday. That's not much information. I should be more.
Through the Preservation Society?
No, it's
See, now that's
through
different.
the Asheville History Museum. So it's Ann Stokely talk at, and it's online. So if you go to the Asheville History Center, they should have some information on that.
I wanted to mention an exhibit that just went up recently over at Buncombe County Special Collections that is really awesome and deserves some applause and attention, where they documented an incredible amount of oral history and physical history and research on Stumptown, South Montford, and Hill Street, and the urban renewal that happened there. That is an area that has previously been not as much attention has been given to it in the urban renewal research. So it's fabulous. It's a really great exhibit. It's going to be up through April, and then sometime in April we'll have a closing. So I can announce that when we have a day for that. But in the meantime, come down to the lower level of Pack Library and say hi.
Do you know, Jenny, if Rashida Hall, I think it's Rashida's now last name, was McDaniel, right?
Maybe.
Rashida Hall. She was at the Montford Neighborhood Association meeting last month when I was there and was talking about their efforts to raise money and for work around Stumptown. And I wondered, she left before I could speak with her, and I wondered if you knew anything about, she mentioned that they were trying to do like a historic signage program. Like, it sounded like maybe they wanted, maybe I could be wrong, but like the street sign toppers or something similar to kind
I
of
haven't heard
delineate
about
where
that.
Stumptown is.
I mean, I know that there's a lot of ideas flying around because there has been so much research. Like, it's an amazing new collection that basically they put together. I'm sure there's a lot of energy that they want to do something amazing with it right now, but I haven't heard anything more about that.
Okay. I just was curious if, since you mentioned the exhibit, if you had any knowledge of that, because I'm wondering how we can help support that effort.
Yeah, I'm sure Amy Wortham would be one of the people to talk to, that she would be a good bridge.
Okay, I think Amy was with Rashida. There was a
Okay,
group of
so
four.
yeah, I mean, yeah, they're all working together, so.
Okay.
That was a great neighborhood meeting, the Montford one. There was a lot of information there.
We were there.
We were all there.
Rob was there. For Alex's part, especially. You guys had a packed agenda, so I feel like I left hurriedly, and I left all my tax credit information up on the stage. And I didn't mean to do that, but it just seemed like you guys had an awful lot to get to on your, on your agenda, not least of all the stuff that I've read in the news about the UNCA planning, that planning
Yeah.
group that is,
That was where I got the information first, was from Bill.
yeah.
Smarmy Bill. 6:31, does anybody want to make?
I make a motion that we adjourn.
A second.
Got a second from Mays, Commissioner Mays? All in favor, aye.